Hello and welcome back to Car Mechanic Simulator 2014. I just finished recording the last episode and this car made me want to do another one without taking a break. So we're going to jump into this one. We just saw this one at the end of the last episode. I haven't driven my car for 2 months and it won't start anymore. Now, there could be two concerns with this. I pretty much know what the one is going to be because I'm cheaty. You can pretty much tell from right here. You see the condition of the battery, you know, it's all dirty, and it's probably just a bad battery. When cars sit, there's things internally in the computer systems, especially nowadays, that use very small amounts of power. Things like keeping the presets on your radio, remembering different like engine values, fuel system, stuff like that. But that uses a little bit of power, and if you're driving it often, it's not enough to do any damage. But if you let the car sit for long periods of time, that can slowly drain the battery. So I'm going to suspect it's the battery. We'll go ahead and just, 2%. We'll remove that. But the other thing that can be a concern with a car that sits, it's not as much now as it used to be, but when fuel sits for long periods of time, it begins to break down as it just sits and doesn't do anything. So a lot of times if you let a car sit probably more than 2 months, maybe, but it could be less than 2 months, just kind of depends on the fuel used and things. They have a lot of stuff now, like cleaners and things that they've added that tends to keep the fuel a little longer, but that's not to say that it can't, develop, or if you get it with a high amount of alcohol and some of the other things in it that breaks things down, some of the fuel lines can start to deteriorate internally. Actually, Cone Dodger could tell you all about this, because he bought a car from someone that didn't have an engine, and the car sat for a while, and the fuel sat in the tank and the lines, and what it did was it corroded the inside of the fuel line and made these large clumps of like a rubber residue, just what was left of the lines breaking down, and wouldn't allow proper fuel flow to the engine, and he had drivability concerns at that point. I think he said he blew tons of just huge chunks of rubber and stuff out. Okay, here we go. Battery, 350. Oh, we got a discount on that. That's how that's happening. Just curious. We're getting paid 600. Alright, so we're making some money on this. This is probably going to be another concern. A lot of times things like this are tow-ins. People will have the vehicle towed because it won't start or won't run, and they may not know what's wrong with it. To think to just jump start the battery. A lot of times a battery can break down to a point to where jump starting it won't work. So it could be something like that, but whoops, wrong one. Well, since we're accidentally clicking, might as well do something with it. That should be it for this one. Yes. I wanted to make that point about the fuel sitting. I knew that probably wasn't going to be the concern in this case, but it's good to run your vehicles as often as possible so that things don't start happening like that. Alright. My engine stops working, sometimes for about half a second. I was in another garage, but they didn't find anything. I don't have time to drive from one mechanic to the other, so money is not an issue here. Wow! $5,000 says it's not. Okay. Here's another one of these. Okay, so they're having a drivability concern. The motor will just randomly shut off for half a second. That means it's coming back. Let's see what the OD2 scanner says. It's reading the EEPROM. Alright, let's get out of the car. Forgot how to do that. There we go. Buttons in this game, I tell you. Let's close the car door because that drives me crazy. Open the hood, inspect. Alright, now let's use this and find out. Okay, ignition coil is clearly bad. Both ignition coils are bad. This type of system uses a coil and plug, or a coil with wire design. Basically, there's an ignition coil which feeds the spark to the spark plugs through the wires. There's your traditional type, which has a distributor, which is attached in some way to the crankshaft, so that every rotation of the crank tells which cylinder when to fire, and it's a mechanical connection. This one's an electrical connection. It uses the input from the crank speed sensor, which is a Hall effect sensor, which measures the there's a wheel, it's called a reluctor wheel, somewhere on the crankshaft that alerts that Hall effect sensor to its position, I guess you'd say, to let it know what top dead center is and things, and when each cylinder should fire. It uses that input and then uses these as an output. That's how this one is. There's another type, which it's pretty much done by the ECU, or DME as it's called for many. Basically the ship's main ships. Oh my gosh. I've been watching a lot of Star Trek lately, so that's where that came from. But the car's main computer sends a signal to a coil, what's called a coil on plug. That is, there's no wires. Where the plug is inside the engine, on top of that is just a single individual coil. That's a much better system for maintenance, because if a coil goes bad in that situation, you know, you just replace the one coil and it's pretty cheap. These coils are more expensive. Oh, see, it's a good thing we check that, because there's a lot of times what can happen is if you have a concern with like a cylinder misfire, which is most likely what this is in this case. Oops. There we go. Give me that spark plug, thank you. A lot of times what can happen is, because there's no spark, because this ignition coil is bad, it's not sparking this, so you've got nothing but raw fuel going into it. So usually these are laid out in a weird, so this would be cylinder 2, or cylinder 1, 2 would be on that side, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if we had specifics, it would say misfire cylinder 5 and 6. Oops. Luckily we know what the problem is in this situation. But what happens is all that fuel gets in and it fouls out the plug. Basically it just kind of jumps it with the fuel. It's a little harder to explain. It's a little more complicated than that, but not really. And it can cause damage to the plug, so we need 2 spark plug wires, 2 ignition coils, Bolthorn Wanderer wheel. That was weird. Just weird looking wheel. Okay, so ignition module. We need 2 ignition modules. These are $720. So you can tell that would be more expensive than, you know, something else. The ignition wires were fine, so we just need the 2 spark plugs. Here they are. See, we get a discount because of that upgrade we did. In fact, let's check on... So we got a lot of money from that RO we just did, so we'll upgrade everything to level 3. Now we get 10% faster unbolting, 5% more income, 1 random part will be instantly examined, and 2% discount in car shops. Car shops. Is that where we're at now, I guess? Like, car parts shop? Or do we buy a car? I don't know. Let's turn this off. We'll do this old school. Okay. Go to reassembly mode. Ah! The random clicking in this game. Mostly for me. And if we can get this finicky bit there to go back. There we go. We'll hop over to the other side. Install our new ignition module for this side, or this bank of cylinders. You see it's a V6 engine because the cylinders are laid out in a V pattern. If you can put my fingers up to it, but you can't see that, obviously. It's got this V design here. It's separated into 2 banks There's Bank 1, Bank 2. Bank 1 houses cylinders 1, 3, and 5. Bank 2 houses cylinders 2, 4, 6. That's how that works. So if I say something like, you know, the Bank 1, etc., etc. Like, there's oxygen sensors part of the exhaust systems, and a lot of times there'll be one oxygen sensor per bank. Now they're getting to 2 oxygen sensors per bank, and rumor has it Chrysler has looked into, if they haven't already, adapted 1 oxygen sensor per cylinder, which means this would have 6 oxygen sensors, or yeah, and then probably 1 after the catalytic converter. That's what shows that the catalytic converter is working. Put this back on. Alright, now that should have fixed their car. But it didn't. Did I forget something? Let's see what else is here. Did I? Yeah. Put the spark plugs in. That's all fine and good. What did I forget here? Do I have to pull all this apart again? Seriously, what did I miss? These were fine. All 3 spark plugs are fine. Did I miss a spark plug on this side? It wouldn't let me put those back in unless I put... Okay, that's good. The ignition coil's good. So let's go to reassembly. Put these back on. Hold off on the engine cover for a minute. Huh. Okay. So let's go to disassembly mode. Oops. Let's just because. Oh, come on. There we go. I'm gonna check the air filter. That's 95%, so that's fine. So I'm lost again. Let's put this back together. This is when some better diagnostic equipment would be nice. If I could read specific fault codes from... Come on. Jeez. That bolt's not way back there, I'm sorry. But whatever. Oops, there. There. No, what am I... Just to see. Okay, that's fine. Reassembly. You can go back on. What am I missing here? The ignition coils were bad. Is that a drain on top of the transmission there? I guess I won't find out. Oh, I could do that. Yeah, it's a little fill tube for the transmission. Got it. As technically, this is a transaxle. Let's check the exhaust and things. Alright, the exhaust is good. Where's the catalytic converter? Way in the back. Alright. Let's get out of here. Enough misfiring may cause the catalytic converter to go bad. If it's run long enough like that. I don't know why I did that. That's not what I want to do. Underbody. Not engine. Underbody. Come on, cat. Nope. Huh. Well, I'm slightly confused. I do, however, have a question about this car. Nice. It appears to be all-wheel drive. Yep. There's 2 exhausts here. Come on, car, tell me your secrets. The engine's shutting off. There's that random part. Pfft. The part condition of the left front spring and nothing else. Huh. I'm completely confused right now. I was in another garage, but I didn't find anything. I don't have time to drive from one mechanic to the other, so money's not an issue here. Oh, here's another one that's stumping me. Huh. Can't remove that. Cannot. Whoops. I can't view the condition of that. I'm up about. Let's just double check and make sure it's not because we left that off. No? Help me, help me, I don't know what I'm doing. Oh boy. Let's, jeez, I don't know. Can we do anything in here other than an OBD scan? Let's check it again, make sure something didn't happen. Maybe we'll replace everything we needed to. Should have corrected it with the right parts. Finalizing. Alright. Let's see if anything changed status. Hello, hello, are you still working? Yes, everything's still working. Jeez, I don't know. I'm beyond confused right now, though. Mass airflow's fine, right? Yeah. Let me try this. Let's remove that. And we'll just look for any worn-looking parts, components. Got me. They have more than one concern. Curious. However, I don't believe that that problem would have been caused by... Upon examination and inspection, that looks bad. Nope, that's not what I wanted to do. 15%. They need a fuel filter that might have caused, if the fuel filter had failed and somehow led something, it may have caused this. I think it's just 2 separate things. It just happened to come together. I don't really have an explanation for either of those. We can rationalize the front end problems with the ignition module going and that causing, but I don't think the ignition module would have caused the fuel filter to go bad, and I don't think the fuel filter going bad would have caused the ignition module to go bad. So I mean, that's not out of the ordinary where a car comes in for a concern and it actually has 3 different concerns, all partially attributing to, but not completely causing, but equally problematic to their concern. Now, that was it, see? Man, that killed me. Alright, one more, and then we'll take a break from this time. I did get a tip on the last video, or not the last video, but the last video that aired at this point, which would have been episode 6. I got a tip to... Alright, hold on. I have just bought a used car. I noticed that the timing belt moves towards the edge of the pulleys. So we're going to check the timing belt. Probably the idler pulley. Let's zoom out a bit so we can get over here. Yeah, that idler's bad. And the belt is worn. Both belts are worn because of the idler. It's pretty cut and dry one here. This is actually what I was going to say. I got a tip on the last one that I like to do this because it tells me the condition. And then I can check specific things. Like you see, that's red. That's red. That's red. But I was told on the last episode, or the last one, like I said, episode 6, it was mentioned to me to take that off and just look physically at it. And you can see how worn this belt is. There's marks all over it. How rusty and worn this idler looks. So, those are the parts that we will be replacing. I gotta take that off. Okay. There we go. No. There we go. I was in the wrong spot. Alright. So they're gonna need an idler pulley, a serpentine belt, or drive belt, and a timing belt. So, wasn't the tensioner, it was the idler. Idler pulley. $94. The belts. Serpentine belt for a 4-cylinder that we're dealing with. And a timing belt for the 4-cylinder we are dealing with. Oops. Nope, don't want to quit the game just yet. So yeah, that's going to help me out a bit. Just checking for that now. As opposed to just checking for assembly mode. Just using the parts condition. So, because the episode 6 had something that really stumped me. Oops. Almost made a boo-boo. Can't forget the tensioner, or that belt will not turn. Belt won't do anything. Just destroy the engine. Okay. Yeah, we'll check out the next one, unless it's really easy, and we can throw it together in the next minute or two. We'll check it out and see what happens. Except the loading screen takes forever. I can hear a loud clattering while accelerating and braking. Something must be broken. Could you find and repair it? Alright, this is going to take us some diagnostic time, so we'll end it right here. Yeah. Vulcan. Live long and prosper. Yeah, a lot of Star Trek lately. Yeah, we'll end it right here. So, make sure to like the videos, leave any feedback, subscribe to get all the latest updates, etc., etc. You know, that whole spiel I do every episode. In the meantime, it's your boy, Jolo. Thanks for watching.